Hi guys, it is me, your dorky friend Lisa, back again. Alright, this week, I'm letting you in on a little secret of mine, but if you're my better half, it's not really a secret. Anyway, whenever I see a commercial for a new TV show or movie, or we're scrolling through Netflix and watching a movie or whatever, I always check, is this movie or TV show based on a book? Google. And, well, recently we had, well, as we've done quite frequently during this pandemic, dinner and Netflix night at home. And we came across this movie called Monster Run. My husband is huge into Japan, China, like the whole Asian culture. So he watches a lot of anime, a lot of kung fu movies, a lot of Asian inspired, well, just straight up Asian movies. Also usually subtitled, which I encourage for him, being that he is dyslexic. It makes him work on the reading. So recently we watched this movie called Monster Run. It was visually stunning, beautiful. It was a totally interesting, like, unique movie. It was kind of like if Pokemons were real and other people couldn't see them, but just you could. It's kind of like what it was. And this whole, like, realistic, like, well, I don't want to say realistic, but like horror backstory, like, going on behind it. Basically, the young woman, how did they pronounce her name? Jimo, J-I-M-O. Anyway, she's seen in the movie. She's seen monsters all of her life. No one else could. People thought she was crazy, including her mother. She ends up getting stuck in a psychiatric ward for most of her life. Finally, she learns when she gets older just to freaking keep her mouth shut and tell them, oh no, I don't see monsters anymore. And they release her. So then she goes about trying to live a normal life, of course, which, for someone who sees monsters, is not really, I think, possible. But anyway, she has a job working at a convenience store. Well, kind of like I wouldn't say, it's a small grocery store. Anyway, and one thing leads to another, and it ends up being a giant Yeti in the frozen food department, and this guy shows up to, like, save basically everyone from this giant Yeti. And it goes from there. Anyway, well, I found out, of course, during the credits, that it is based on an American book, actually, which is really bizarre for me, because I feel like we as Americans, and you can quote me on this, we as Americans tend to steal ideas from other cultures as far as, like, books and literature, and change it to something for us. Like, Ugly Betty was an Indian TV show before it was Ugly Betty. The Mask was, like, a big thing in Japan before it was, like, I feel like we have a tendency to do that. Anyway, well, this one, it ended up going the other way. It's written by A Lee Martinez, who is a Texan, actually, of all things. And basically well, actually, I'm going to say, I actually ordered this from the used section on Amazon, and so when that happens, it's not Amazon Prime, it takes a little bit longer. So I had actually run across the street to the Second and Charles for my work, and got one of his other books beforehand, so I'm definitely going to do a video on this one too, guys, because it's fun. Anyway, so, in this version, which is, I have to say, kind of a completely different mindset I guess you could say. In the American version, which is the book, which I really liked, both of them as entities are completely entertaining and fun, but I highly recommend the books. I found Mr. Martinez's writing completely hilarious. The movie is not, it's more of a sentimental, kind of like sappy, like sad and scary, I don't want to say, like at times, but the books are hilarious. Anyway, so same kind of sort of beginning as the movie. Basically, the young lady, America, her name is Judy. They never go into her mother or anything in this book, but she has a sister, which is Greta, who's like, who you meet later on in the story, is kind of like the perfect sibling, and she's not, because she's always seen monsters, and apparently, like, most people can't, like, well, a lot, not most, but a lot of people can in this book. Basically what it is there are people who are actual magic users, or are magical entities, I guess you could say, and they of course see the monsters because they are. And then there are people who are semi-cognitive of like the monsters around, but they slowly forget that they saw them. And then there are the people who just like brains will not completely not accept that they exist, so they just don't see them, period. Like literally there's like all kinds of, like, I mean, there's monsters in the movie, but in the book there's tons and tons and tons of different little mythical creatures and stuff. And like literally in the book, like someone who's non-cognitive can like literally like have like a griffin like sitting there eating their plants or whatever, or lettuce out of their, like, you know, shopping bag at the bus stop, and they're completely I don't see this, I don't know it's there kind of deal. Anyway, so there's Judy, and Judy has a job working at a grocery store, and again, the way the movie kind of started with the Yeti in the freezer department. In the book there's more Yetis, not just the one, and this guy named Monster comes in, and which is Mang in the movie, and he like traps these monsters into crystal form through doing sigils. If you don't know what sigils, they're like magical symbols. Anyway, and he has a little paper sidekick name. In the movie it's Paper, in the book it's Chester. Anyway, so they have all these adventures, kind of like stopping monsters basically, and they're like, in the book there's a whole like agency, like kind of covert, like secondary government like agency that controls all this stuff, and like traps monsters and does stuff, because the monsters, like the barrier between their world and our world, they sneak through. Anyway, well, it ends up being this whole big thing, and Judy is supposed to basically help out this rock. Okay, when I say this, anyway, basically the rock is like the beginning of creation. Like it is magic. It is the universe. Basically, it's, you know, everything. And Lotus, who owns it, is the bad guy. The name of the bad guy in the movie and the book, by the way, wants to continue to control the rock, which it has done since the beginning of time, basically. And the rock has been plotting and planning and basically setting Judy into like the position to kind of not take over for Lotus, but to kind of be the epicenter of his power, and to kind of like put the universe on a good path. Anyway, I know that sounds deeper than what it is. Really, it's a lot of fun, a lot of monsters, a lot of craziness. Highly recommend. So definitely check out Monster by A Lee Martinez. Bye guys. See you next time.